Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Decision Accelerator webinar. Decision Accelerator is a lightweight application for loading data into CloudSuite Industrial ERP from Excel through the API interface. Useful for data export and import, Decision Accelerator eliminates the frustration of cut and paste and never touches your SQL databases. Presenting Decision Accelerator today is David Willett, Product Manager at DRI. David has more than 30 years of experience working with Sightline and CloudSuite Industrial as a user, consultant, and product manager. David also has 15 years of experience with EDI automation and continues to expand on that as DRI's product manager, developing new productivity tools like Decision Accelerator to benefit our customers. Without further ado, David, take it away.
Okay, thank you. So today's session is an overview, as it says on the slide, and looking at the audience here, we have a wide range of folks. We've got some detailed users to people who've likely never seen this tool before. So CloudSuite Industrial has data challenges. CloudSuite Industrial and Sightline have a lot of options for getting data out. We all know about the export Excel. Of course, there's reports, there's data views, there's a variety of different ways. But there's not so many options for getting data in, and particularly when your system is in the cloud or hosted and you don't have access to the SQL database. So getting data into CloudSuite requires that you go through the APIs. The API layer is that layer that sits right below the screens and right above the database, and that's the business layer that we access. Of course, we also know we can do paste, rows, append. You could type things in, but of course the keyboard is slow, brings up the opportunity to create errors. And then of course, data may need to be changed. And not only just maybe one record at a time, but maybe mass changes. Maybe you might want to change a whole series of items from a finished good to a purchase part, or you may want to update order times or maximum order quantities or things like that. So a tool that does that quickly for large amounts of data was needed. This is probably the best summary of what Decision Accelerator is for. I'm told by some millennials I have this whole meme wrong, but at least the old boomer types, this is what we think of it. It's a tool to get things done quicker, so you don't have to spend all night, all day doing paste, row, append, and things like that. What's it used for? Well, it was originally designed for implementations, for loading, testing, and deleting data. And then we found that many customers were multi-site, and sometimes they were multi-site, multi-system. They may have a Sightline 8 at one site and be running CloudSuite 9 at another. And they could move data between sites, so they could download their master data from one site and upload it to another site. And most recently, we're finding that it's a great tool to keep CSI current. There's lots of things that you need to keep current and change in your existing system. You may want to update costs, update pricing, both the item pricing or the customer contract pricing. For some customers who do international currency exchanges, there might be exchange rates that you want to keep up to date. Job operation times. Obviously, every one of you has something that you want to keep current and would prefer a faster way to do it than just keying it in through the forms. So a couple of things we added. The Decision Accelerator is an enhancement on what was called the DMA, which was the Data Migration Accelerator before. It is the same product with the same features and then more besides that. We added ability to do unattended operations for repetitive tasks. One thing that came up is one customer wants to download certain information from the orders, certain information from the customer master, certain information from the warehouses, all have that downloaded in nighttime as a type of report, put into different tabs in Excel, and then they can use Excel to combine it. So the ability to do background unattended operations supports that. As I mentioned, it's good for moving data in and out of ERP sites, and we're going to show some examples of that. And it's faster, more powerful than pasting, and it works with cloud or on-premise. So we don't really care where your CloudSuite system is. We mentioned again, CloudSuite or on-premise, there's no SQL access, so we only use the IDO, that's the API. For those of you who aren't familiar with that is, that's the layer that is right below your forms, and we use a licensed user and permissions that are given by that user. And it's in the interface that you already know. We use Excel. So if you want to get an idea what the interface is, I have four quadrants here, 4 screenshots. The top left is the user interface. That is what the Decision Accelerator looks like. It's essentially one button. The bottom left is where we now add a license. So the license is added one time, as opposed to in the past, you had to license every site and everything you connected to separately. Now we license it up front, and more on that later. And then the other part of the interface is an Excel spreadsheet. So on the top right-hand side, we have a tab on a spreadsheet that tells you what the configuration is, what are you going to do, and you can see the word insert in there. And then we have what we're inserting, and we're having the URL to the site that we're inserting it into and the configuration name. And then the bottom left, the data that we would insert. And we're going to do some things here today where you'll see I'm inserting it into an operation and I don't know the job number. So I just put null, and the accelerator is going to find that job number for us and insert it properly. So there's some nice hidden tools and features in there where the accelerator knows about SiteLine and CloudSuite, and it knows that if you put an operation in, there's got to be a job above it, and it finds it. And then on the bottom right, it's also a very important part of the interface is everything that is logged and written to the database into your CloudSuite system is logged row by row, exactly when it was put in, including errors. And I included the error down there as well, because typical errors are, well, I don't know what that property is, or you already have that part in there. So things like that. Today we're going to hit 3 major functions, and we're gonna hit these fairly thoroughly, and then we're going to discuss and show some of the more advanced functions that we'll be going over January 9th. So with that, I'm going to just jump in and show you how it works. So just to start off, let's first look at the first spreadsheet that we're going to go into, and we're going to look at the filter select command. Before I do that, what I did here is I just numbered them to go along nicely in our presentation, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are different commands that we're going to go through that we'll show you that all come with the accelerator. Then we also have the ability to add in UETs, and also a spreadsheet that's got all of them in it. So you don't have to have one big spreadsheet with everything that you would ever do in it. You can break your spreadsheets up into logical areas. You may have one spreadsheet that's for orders. You may have another spreadsheet that's for operations and bills of materials. You may have another spreadsheet that's for customers. So in this particular case, I have one that's going to pull data down. And you can see I have my sheet names right here, items on premise. And what it's going to do is pull the data from an on-premise database that I'm running and fill this out. Items in the Dallas database, that's a cloud database that I'm going to pull. I'm going to pull this one from another configuration, and then I'm going to bring in some job operations. So all this is controlled right here, and you can see items on premise, Dallas, items in LA, operations. This is the command we're running, filter select. I could run different commands here, but I'm trying to keep it just straightforward and simple. So we're just going to pull down information. And then the site that I'm pulling it from, this is the URL for my on-premise database. This is one for a Infor hosted CloudSuite. And you can see I'm pulling from Dallas and I'm pulling from LA. And then my local database is Demo Dallas. And over at the right here, you'll see what we're doing. We're doing a filter select. So that means I'm just pulling the product codes that are equal to PP or purchase parts. Here, I'm pulling only finished goods. Here, I'm pulling anything with a dash in it. And here I'm pulling, again, anything with a dash in it that's a job type. You don't see it on the screen, but it's a job type S. So one of the things that is important and a skill you need to know is you need to know how to build these filters with the proper names that CloudSuite expects. Maybe some of you users out there are not familiar with the new no validate we've added. So the standard feature in the accelerator is when it goes through a spreadsheet and it validates that all of these are correctly spelled and the capitalization is correct. And that takes a little bit of time that you may not want. So you can do no validate now and it'll be quicker. The other thing I have here, this particular one, the job operations, I have that off, so we're going to watch it validate. So I wanted you to see that it's turned off and it's going to take a little longer to run. The other thing I wanted to point out is we're going to pull down the unit of measures, and there's a simple table, and it's going to create the tab on the fly for us. So that's what we're going to do, and I'm going to run it. And I do need to get to my desktop, so hold on a second here. Okay, so now you're just looking at my desktop. I'm not really logged in. I have my local system here. This is running on premise. This is the cloud one, but I'm just going to go ahead and run the accelerator the way it is, and we'll just open this up. And so there's my interface. Whenever you see open Excel data, it is telling you it's ready to start another process. So it goes to the folder it was in before, and I'm looking at this same folder here, and I'm going to say do a filter select. So I'll just narrate it right here. It's connecting to my P50 system. It just downloaded a whole bunch of rows, 600 some odd rows. Now it's connecting to the cloud. It's initializing, it's downloading those. That's done. It's connecting to the next URL, CloudSite. And now it's connecting to LA, pulling down 763 rows. And now it's connecting to, it's validating actually. This is the job route validating. So it's going through all the columns and making sure they're there. It's going to have an error, and I know about the error, but I just want to show you the kind of thing that it'll do. It'll come up and say, hey, look, we can't find this particular property in the IDO. Do you want to continue anyway? So it validated this against your CloudSuite system. It wasn't there, but since I know it's good, I'm going to say, go ahead and do it. And it's downloaded that. So if I now open up my spreadsheet, I'm going to see the unit of measures was created, and it pulled everything out of the unit of measures. It pulled fields that we don't necessarily want. In the future, I could just delete those and I could put data back in. For the items that are on premise, it downloaded all these parts based upon the filter, downloaded the ones from Dallas, from LA, from operations. One thing I will point out is some of this data is not available on the form. So for example, there's no place that you can find the job number that's associated to an operation without doing a filter select. So we have all the access to the raw data as it comes through the API. So the same is true for the item masters. Many of you are familiar with the material type that's on the front screen, or the general one. Is this a purchase, manufactured, or transferred? Well, the real data is a P or an M or a T. So this is an area that you can see exactly what the real data is. So that's the filter select. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward. We can look here in any one of these. These are tab delimited records of exactly what was downloaded. And you could then turn around and you could drag these right into an Excel spreadsheet and they would automatically parse. But we have the timestamp. We always do the timestamp in universal time, coordinated time. So if you are dealing with multiple sites or different things like that, you've always got a relative time to compare. But that's the filter select function. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And now I'm going to do an insert. And what I do want to show you before I do that, I'm just going to log into my site here. And on my local site, I'm going to go to my items, and I'm going to go to the planning tab. And I'm looking for items that are Decision 365 items. Go ahead and filter. And I don't have any, which I didn't want any, and I'm going to load them. can also log into my CloudSite, and I'm going to go over to my items form, and I'm going to filter on items that begin with 1207, and I don't have any. So I'm going to load these in, and let's just look at the insert spreadsheet and how it's a little different and what we can do with it. So it's going to look just like the filter select, except now I have insert command, and these are pulled. You can select these from here. So this is already pre-done and pre-set up. But the insert command, it's going to go and get the information that from the items to insert spreadsheet. So it's going to take these items, and there's my 1207 FA series. So I'm going to actually add the bill of material for this. It's going to then go to the operations, and because I don't know the job number, I put null. If I did know the job number, I could use it. And then it's going to go and add the materials. So it's going to add the items, it's going to add the operations and the materials. The operations are special. In CloudSuite, there's actually a job between the items and the operations. This tool will automatically create that job using the CloudSuite stored procedures. It will automatically update the operations with the correct runtime here. We can see we have some run rates and labor rates and things like that. In our advanced session, January 9th, we'll show you how we can come back and update this later. That is not super simple because of how it's built in CloudSuite. And here we can see what site are we doing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add 770, we're actually going to add 776 items to my on-premise. Then we're going to go and insert these into the cloud system. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I don't want to save any changes. I shouldn't have made any. And now I go back to my user interface, which says open Excel, it's ready. So I go, yep, you're ready. And I'm going to select my insert. So it's telling us up here how many it's inserting. So it's committing 99 at a time. I didn't go into that, but you can say how big your record cap is. So I have a record cap of 100. So it's going to insert 100 records at a time. How fast it does this obviously depends a little bit on how fast your system is, how far you are over the internet, and how much data you're inserting. So I can insert things like units of measures or simple price changes at a much faster rate. If I go to my CloudSuite site now and I go back to my filter, let's see. Oh, I got some items there. Let me go into my view, user preferences, retrieve all. Okay, sorry, I'm talking to myself. It's just easier to do. And if I do this again, so there's my 776 records are all in here. So it inserted those pretty quickly, lot quicker than you would have in paste row append. And now it's going through and initializing the jobs and doing the others as well in the background. So we'll just look at that in a second. Let me get ready here. Let's see if the items are in. Oh, they are. So I'm pushing it a little quickly. Okay, now it's going through and inserting the job routes. I'm going to wait for it to be done, and then it'll go through and put in the materials. And I'm doing the job routes and the job materials with a record cap of 1. I'm inserting 1 record at a time. I don't need to do this always. I'll go into more detail again in our advanced session, but we can insert things in blocks or just 1 at a time. I'll just mention when you insert things 1 at a time, if there is an error, you can drill in and find out exactly what that error is. When you insert things in blocks, it rolls back all the blocks. So depending upon what you're doing, you may want to do things 1 at a time or in groups. But here you can see this operation has been added with the materials. Current operations have the time, the machine hours per piece, and all that information was set up correctly from the spreadsheet. So we added a bill of material for that item, and we added 700 in a different database, 776. So I'm going to do a little bit more here. Let's go look at the spreadsheet. First of all, we have a record of everything that was added. I won't bother opening up all these logs. I do know that what that error is already, it's about a resource group that was already there, and it basically said, go ahead, you're fine. The operations, it replaced the null with a real job number. So now we have a record of what's in CloudSuite, and we're done with that. So now let's do the update command. So just for cleaning house, I like to delete things afterwards when I'm working with it. I obviously have a backup of all this in another place, but it's just easier to kind of go through. So in this case, I'm going to do two types of updates here. So the update command looks very similar to all the others. We have the URL, the configuration. I've hidden the password and the username. We are going to do a single update row by row, and then we're going to do a many update. And so what a single update does is, in an update, we have a column that's called a filter. And there's a little bit of help over at the right, but we can use different features of Excel to build that filter. So if you look at my formula, you'll see I concatenated item equals, and then super important, single quote, right? And then the part number, and then single quote. So I can take the item that's in the first column, and I like to number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versus A, B, C, D, because it's a little bit easier to read that way for me. But here's my filter. So what it's going to do, it's going to find this item, and it's going to update all the non-key fields, meaning it won't update the item itself, but it'll update that with whatever's here. It's going to update the order mins and the order maxes and things. So if I go back to CloudSuite right now, and I go to my additional planning screen, and I want to filter and find everything where my order maximum is 250, I should get nothing. And I got nothing. So now I'm going to run this, and it's going to go through and go boom, 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 and it will update 9 items with this order max, this order min, this order multiple. So this is an area of something you might, do repetitively or do over and over again. This many feature is pretty powerful. Many people don't know we can do this, but the filter update does not need to be a unique find. And this is both a warning in that if you think you're finding one record and you haven't specified the exact key to get one record, you're going to be updating multiple records. So here I've said, look, let's find everything with the family code of Decision 365, and let's change them to purchase parts. So what I didn't show you in CloudSuite, and I probably should do, is of these Decision 365 items I have here, I have my 250. I'll just delete that, come back, and of these items, I mean, the product code's all over the board. It's finished good 100, 150. So the ability to do a mass change of data that's behind the scenes, not only, well, product code's not behind the scenes, but the ability to do a mass change of things that are here up front as well as things that are behind the scenes is a really powerful tool. And obviously it's a tool that you should have some expertise in knowing what you're going to change before you do it, but it's a great way to do things quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and that should change everything, and it'll also update those order mins, order maxes, and things like that. So get ready to run. Same interface, pretty simple. I'm going to say update. It's connecting, boom. Okay, it's already done with the filter update. Now it's waiting because it's doing a mass replace. So it's replacing those 760 items and putting purchase in there. So what I can do right now is I can go back to this additional planning, and I should be able to pick up immediately the order maximum of 250. And those are the items with the order maximum of 250. So those were that small data set that I loaded, and you saw it run. And then as soon as this is done, which it is done, I'll go back to my main area and get rid of my filter here. Go back to my main and undo that. And of course, I could filter for not equals product code, but everything here is purchase part. So that is the update feature. And we'll go from there, and then I'll show you a couple of these others. Let's talk about them first, but we just ran through 3 of the major features in the accelerator: the filter select, which brings things out, the insert, which puts things in, and the update, which will update IDOs. So I need to bring back the presentation from where I started. Hold on just a moment, please. I didn't want to go there. Let's do it from the current slide. Okay. So we do have some advanced features. One is, and I'm going to just show you this running. I'm not going to go through the whole spreadsheet. We do not encourage you to do this at home. We encourage that there's a lot of thought and planning behind it, and we'll touch on that in a bit. But filter delete, it does what it says. So it will go through and it will mass delete rows of data. Typically, you would do a filter, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete everything that has D365 as the family code, because it's going to reinitialize my database so I can start all over again and do the same demo over and over again. It also has the ability, based upon the IDO rules, when I delete those items, it's also going to delete the operations, the jobs, and the materials off the bill of material. That is purely subject to the IDO rules. So in some cases, I need to be careful, because that may not happen and it may leave me with orphans. But in most areas of CloudSuite, it's going to delete the whole structure. And of course, we could go into more detail on that on the 9th. Second thing we can do is we can call methods. And methods are, I don't want to say stored procedures, but they were traditionally stored procedures in Sightline and CSI. Now there's many more areas where there's certain things that are being added as functions that we can call. And it's not just inserting data in like a table. So things would be pricing. We could call and see what the pricing is. We could add notes. So we could add notes to these items or to customers or things, or run other processes. We've also added in Excel, we've added a tab called the Accelerator tab, and that's it on the top right-hand side. And we give you kind of is a launch pad for other special things. So I'm going to use my mouse here and just point and say, we'll let you, set up. It'll help you set up, create configuration information. It'll give you access to forms and fields for the IDOs. We have a simple tool that will let you access the IDO and query directly, and this will run across network DMZ zones and other things that are hard to do with other tools. I already said we could schedule queries, so we could schedule queries to have these things run in the background. Download currency rates, and then we launch some other similar things that DRI has, other tools. One's an inventory importer, another one is the site lean simulator. So the idea is you can find all the tools and handy things we have from one place. So just going down the list again, I kind of went down that on the taskbar, but the currency rates, we have the ability to download up to the 10-minute currency exchange rates that you can then turn around and insert right into CloudSuite. We have a calculator that we pulled out the logic that we use in the site lean simulator that will give you your average daily usage on particular parts and things, so that you can look at inventory, and I mentioned the other tools there as well. So how do we call a method? And I'll show you a little bit in the spreadsheet, but it requires IDO knowledge. You need to know how the IDO is working. We strongly recommend the first time you do this, you have training from a DRI integration consultant, and that's a person who works in our group and is dealing with IDOs all the time. Columns must contain all the parameters, and they have to be in order. So the bottom left-hand side, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the order they have to be in to run. And then We do provide some standard samples now. We've added those. So update operation is a standard sample, create customer notes is a standard sample, and then the impact schema, which is what I'm showing now. So this goes through and it adds UETs in several different tables, and then it impacts the schema. So the user fields are all added without us ever logging in to CloudSuite. We built this tool for ourselves. So it's pretty handy for doing that. If I wanted to show you what it looked like here, it's pretty much as the picture. Here are the UET fields we're adding. Here are the UET classes. This, we didn't see anything there. They're over here. But what we've done is you would fill this out with your information and it goes boom, 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 impacts the schema and runs. So same basic concept. I'm not going to go add UETs to my system right now, which is they're already there. So that's why I'm not running that, but just giving you an idea how that would work. And you can see we have down here the keyword method. So we insert method. The filter delete, I'm just going to run. What that's going to do is that's going to clean up my database and get rid of everything again. And this is another thing we want you to talk to one of our consultants before running. We give you a warning. So it has the filter in there, and it found those same 776 items that I loaded in. So it's saying, hey, look, there's 776 where the family code equals D365. So it found it. It's kind of reminding us what I already said. There is no undo. Orphan records may be created also based upon IDO rules. In this case, they won't be, but it's saying if you're uncertain, don't run it. Well, I know about this, so I'm going to run it. So it's going to go ahead and run against my local on-premise system that I was just demoing from, and it's going to delete those items 776, and then it's going to turn around and delete the bill of material from my CloudSuite system. So it shouldn't take too long to finish here. In the meantime, okay, now it's connecting to the CloudSuite system, and I got, okay, it popped up on another screen here, but there's the 4 items for the bill of material. There's no undo. Go ahead and finish that. So filter delete's pretty powerful. I didn't want to go into spreadsheet details here. We would like you to, again, work with somebody on that. And then I just wanted to show you, this last screen is going to be pretty busy. I just wanted to show you how a lot of customers and a lot of people, once they're familiar with it, do things. You can have a whole series of sites you connect to. Here's jobs. I might have item prices in here. I might have customers. So the ability to put all of this into one spreadsheet certainly exists. You know, I was demoing off of this the other day, and I think I just confused everybody. So that's why I broke it apart. But it's however you want to do it, you can do it.